Welcome back to the Urban Organism. I'm Dr. George Wilkinson, and pictured behind me is the skyline of Detroit, Michigan, the largest city in Michigan and a metropolitan area of about 5 million people. In 1940, Detroit was the fourth largest city in the United States, and this followed an explosive growth out of obscurity. However, since then, Detroit has been in a progressive decline. While it remains a large metro area, the city proper is at about 40% of its peak size. And probably as famous as the automotive industry in Detroit is its decay and decline. So in this video, I'm going to have an urban organism perspective of that decline because I think there is something unique and new to understand about Detroit's decay when you adopt this biological perspective of cities. So I'm going to share a map that I think conveys things the best. Seeing is believing. And before getting into the detail, I'll just help position you with where Detroit is. So we'll zoom in. There's Detroit in Michigan, in southeast Michigan. And something to take note of before I go closer is this solid black line, which is the US-Canada border. So on this side of the border, we have Ontario, Canada, and then on this side is Michigan. And oddly enough, Detroit is actually north of its Canadian touch point. Now, another thing to note about Detroit's appearance here is the morphology. So in addition to that border being there, it appears to be the dividing line between an enormous sprawl and a very small sprawl. So Detroit is the most lopsided urban sprawl on Earth. By that I mean it is the largest in terms of population example where you can find a city that is lopsided. So one half appears stunted or one portion, and another half appears to be sprawling normally, whatever that is. So I'll just trace with the mouse the outskirts of Detroit. And if you've ever been to Detroit and driven out to these suburbs, this is far. Detroit is a huge urban sprawl. It's of LA scale and feel when you drive on its freeways. You just feel like you're going forever. Great city, by the way. I love Detroit. And when you come out of Michigan, though, you can see that the Canadian portion only comes out about this far. Windsor, Ontario is stunted. Arguably, a quarter of the sprawl is missing. So that, to my view, is untapped economic potential. Obviously, something's going on in the center, an economic opportunity, which is not being capitalized upon in Canada. So you would be hard-pressed to make the case that there's some geographic constraint on this site, and rather there's an institutional phenomenon occurring here that has caused the city to be lopsided. Now, how does that relate to decay? Well, think about any other biological organism that is born incomplete or that is develops to be incomplete, maybe a human being who's missing a limb. Now throw them onto the battlefield of life. Are they going to compete as well as other individuals who are full-bodied? Probably not, and we wouldn't be surprised if they struggled to compete. And that's exactly what's happening to Detroit. Decline, decay, however you want to name it, when a city is failing to prosper economically, it is unhealthy. It is not functioning well. It's not keeping up or competing in a global competitive economy. So the message I want to make in this first part of this case study on Detroit is morphology and function are related in every other living organism, and I would argue that morphology and function are related as regards urban sprawls and cities. And in this case, you can see it very clearly with your eyes how there is a very unique physiological characteristic to Detroit that differentiates it from most other cities. And similarly, its decay differentiates it from most other cities. It's exceptional in decay and morphology. And that's sort of the link I'm drawing in this first part. And I'll leave it with you to draw your own conclusions. Until next time on the urban organism and a further elaboration on this case study, thanks for your time and attention.